And we're back. Happy Monday. I'm Alek Dincoff. I'm chatting with Steve Todd, creator of Open Sourced Workplace. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Alek. How are you doing?
Well, it's been a hectic Monday. It's an exciting Monday, but hey, I'm happy to be alive, just like any other day. So let's dive right in. What is new with Open Sourced Workplace? I know last 2 episodes ago, we really drilled into how Open Sourced Workplace is now with version 2.0 being released. But are there any new updates, anything that you've seen, any hiccups that you've had to fix? Just the good details of making sure a website launched correctly.
No, I appreciate the question. No, the big thing for this last week has been the release of the podcast. Super excited. Obviously, this is where a lot of your work, what you've been doing in the background, all of a sudden it's coming to the fore, and people will start to see the relationship you and I have growing, and sort of where that first started. So yeah, I couldn't be happier with what you've produced as a podcast. I listened to 4 episodes, I think, that went live on Apple last week, so I got access to it. And then I saw there's another one that went out today, so I've yet to listen to that. I got an update a little bit earlier, but I didn't get quite to watch it. I was too busy watching my soccer, but that's a different story. But no, I was super excited to really hear and give people the ability to be able to absorb open source workplace content on the go. You know, everyone has different ways they'd like to absorb content. I mean, I know I enjoy reading books, but actually I can take in a lot more when I listen to audio. And this gives people, you know, depending on the speed that you listen to it, you know, most articles you can get through in about 7-8 minutes. A little surprising how long it takes, but actually, you know, that just shows the depth that actually is involved and sort of put into a lot of the content. And no, I really am enjoying listening to the podcast. And it's the content that you're going through and actually producing right now is content that was made or crafted probably 6 months ago. And it's amazing how it's still relevant. It's still really on point. And I actually forgot a lot of the points that were raised. So for me, it was a really good refresher as well. I don't get the chance to go back and read a lot of that content, you know. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, I think you've done a wonderful job putting it together. And I know my writers are going to be surprised whenever they start seeing their content being produced as a podcast and available to others. And then this is, you know, just as a shout out to anybody else who's interested in contributing content to open source workplace. This is the path we're on, right? We're trying to provide a service that will provide anyone who's interested in workplace productivity, employee experience, the ability to give content, have it published, put on the website, but then we're going to narrate it, put it into a podcast. And a surprise for you, Alek, you may or may not have been aware of this, but actually I've got 2 of the audio or book reviews that you've narrated. I've actually gotten an animator putting that into an animation for YouTube. So in essence, just trying to think of new ways and different ways to get content to people and to as many people as possible, because everybody has different ways of absorbing content. And I want to ensure that we're covering all the bases. And the more content we put out there as open source, then the more Google and all the other search engines are really going to start loving open source content and sort of push people to us because they see the variety and the way with which we're pushing content. So in essence, I want content searchable by text, by audio, by video, in every forum. So that's a big thing. I'm hoping to have one of those animations completed. Maybe we'll release it sometime next week. I have 2, as I said, testing at the moment. So we'll see where they are. I got the first little snippet yesterday. It's okay. I think it could be a little bit better, so I give some direction. So we'll see where that comes from. But again, it's all about absorbing the content in different forms, different formats. One visual, audio, and obviously then bringing those 2 together through video content. So super excited. Really am. I actually also put on the first conference on the site. So the conference I attended in January, I put it up there. I rated it. I shared it with a few folks. So hopefully we'll see other people taken an interest, and hopefully that helps that conference next year if those who attended this year rate and review it highly. So that's obviously the goal and the expectation and the hope with that. So busy week, yeah.
Very good, very good. For everyone watching, you mentioned the podcast. You're very excited about it. So am I. Of course, I'm narrating all these articles. If you're interested, anyone watching, it debuts Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. This debuts on Wednesdays. So that'll be on, there should be links to our podcast in the YouTube description. If not, you can find it on Apple, as you said. It should be on Google. It should be on anchor.fm. There's anywhere a good podcast is published, you should be able to find us. If not, let us know and we'll try and fix that for you.
Awesome. So on that, so are you going to be, for these interviews that we're doing, are you starting like back at day one? Are you starting like this would be the first one that will be on? What way are you doing it?
I'm going to ask you to clarify that question. My apologies.
So, So obviously we've done a series of Q&A. So I'm just curious if listeners are going to be able to hear the ones way back when, or whether you're starting with this week's. I'm just curious.
Okay, so this Q&A goes live on YouTube this Wednesday. Every Monday we speak. This is Monday. You're watching this at least Wednesday or thereafter. But that's a repetition thing. The podcast is Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And perhaps this may turn into podcast form as well on a Wednesday, but we'll see. For now, it's just YouTube.
Got it.
Yes. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The second thing I wanted to mention before we went down this road was, you know what? I've completely spaced it. You gotta love doing this.
That's my fault for asking you a question.
You had a lot of good comments, so it'll come back to me and I'll cut you off later.
That's okay. That's all right. That's okay.
Perfect. So tell me about the articles you're getting back. I assume since it's been a very busy week, you're not reading too much, getting into new in-depth industry articles, but I'm sure you're reviewing, seeing, and retaining content. Is there anything that you want to touch on, something that's jumping out that's relevant in the industry today?
No, so it's actually, you know, my writers keep surprising me, and there's two writers who I actually pushed titles to, I want to say in November, and I hadn't heard from them. And I let people do their thing, and you know, if they wish to submit it eventually, they do, and if they don't, then that's okay. The system we have in place allows for that, given the volume of content that I have coming through. But there was two articles that actually did come through, and I was absolutely blown away. And I want to tell you what they are. I'm just trying to think. I actually want to pull it up just so I don't misstate what they're actually called. But one was about creating a seating plan that best works for your team. So in essence, this was an in-depth study of actually how do you create a seating plan to actually fit how your team operates. And it was really, really cool. Another one was, what's the purpose of an office and when should your company get one? So this is looking at the various, you know, evolutions of an organization as a business as it grows. When should you actually think about workplace? Where should you actually look at it, and the different options available to you? So co-working, shared space, corporate offices and things like that. It is a really good in-depth article. And then the other one I've just mentioned is a really deep look at the advantages and disadvantages of hot desking. So hot desking is basically the concept where it's free address. So basically you first come in, whoever comes in gets a seat. Some organizations allow it where you can book a desk that day. Just different rules, different etiquette and how you want to run that. So this was a really in-depth article looking at the advantages and disadvantages of that. So those are a few articles that literally just went up on Sunday yesterday. So I actually got through a whole plethora of content yesterday that I put on the site, and super excited by it. Actually, really, it's whenever you actually read this, and I'm actually reading it and I'm learning it, and I'm going, yeah, this is stuff I want to read. And the excitement of actually putting that content out there for others to read. And then you hope that people find it so that they can actually read it and they find it useful. So those are the things that I've been really digging into. One other one that I'll just mention that just popped into my head is standing desks, and to standing desks, a leaf back pin. because in essence, we're sitting, you're sitting, we're in an office environment, we spend so much of our time sitting, and we're rarely are we actually sitting at our optimal height and sitting at our most ergonomic position. So this was an article that really goes in and has a look about actually what are the benefits of a standing desk and how do you adjust to ensure you have ergonomic heights at various sitting and obviously standing and standing. So it is another really good article, actually.
Very good, very good. And that'll all be, and those aren't published yet, but they will be on Open Sourced Workplace. So go check it out, especially young entrepreneurs. When should you get the next step in your office? What a great article for someone just starting out, or who's tried it, worked through the kinks, and they want to see, I guess, the rhyme to the reason. They want to really put meaning to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Very good, very good. Speaking of workplace and different things going on in the workplace, whether it be desks, whether it be reserving desks, standing or sitting, whatever. Spirituality in the workplace is a topic that isn't always covered, but it is covered on Open Sourced Workplace. If you're curious, I just read Toward a Science of Workplace Spirituality right there on Open Sourced Workplace. We'll put a link in the description here. It mentions taking meditation breaks at work. Now, we've talked about meditation and your thoughts and feelings and the pros and cons of meditation, but for someone maybe just seeing this video for the first time, would you mind reminding us the goods, the bads, what you like about meditation in the workplace?
Sure, no, and thank you for asking the question. And I remember, we spoke about this a while back, and I remember I was excited to tell you about it, one, because it was a concept I hadn't really heard of. It is come out of way out of left field. And I read the article and it sort of made so much sense. This is a concept that's been around since the 1920s. It's a concept that actually is basically all about an individual's inner self and how their personality and their personal views and passions come out in a workplace, and how do organizations tap into that. Right. And I think as we get more into diverse organizations and we learn the diversity drives productivity and creativity. And as we sort of learn more about flow and how people get into flow, and when they're in flow, how much better or much more productive they are. And whenever the offset of that is you have to provide an element of, okay, so when someone's in flow, they have to have a retreat, somewhere to go where actually they can recover. And I think that the thought behind meditation in the workplace is to allow people to have that little bit of downtime, a constructive downtime that allows them to go refresh the brain, refresh the mind, refresh the body, so that they can actually come back and get into that flow state and actually connect again with the workplace and what they're doing. And meditation happens in so many different ways, and there's ways to do it, and there's a lot of resistance, the wrong word, but there's stigma in a sense that for an organization that's paying cash for square footage and putting a meditation room in there, well, it's kind of like, well, who's using it? Why are they in there? Why are they not working? And it's a real mind shift for a lot of organizations, and especially for a lot of managers. The way it's sort of been positioned and sort of transforming is wellness rooms, recovery rooms, re-energize rooms, different names, so that they can be multi-purposed. So they could be for meditation, they could be for napping, they could be for yoga, they could be for whatever it is, whatever somebody needs to allow their brain, body, and mind to recover and actually get back into that work state. And I do some meditation. I typically do it in the morning. I enjoy it. I actually find it clears my head, and it actually almost puts my whole body at ease. And it allows me then to move into a creative phase. I'm thinking. And again, I go back to that Brain FM that I talk about all the time. In there, one of the actual attributes and one of the programs in there is a meditation, but it also has a recharge opportunity in there as well, a program where you can do it for 15, 30 or 45 minutes, where basically the music plays, and again, it actually connects your brain waves and actually put you into a deep, deep recovery phase where you're actually, I almost feel like my body's just completely at ease, still, deep sleep. And then obviously as the program comes to an end, as sort of the music then brings you out and sort of gives you that uplift and energy. So you're waking up feeling refreshed. I feel fantastic after I do that. And obviously then I flip on the focus music and then I'm good to go again. But I think, as I said, I go back to, as more people are becoming aware of the benefits of flow, the benefits and understanding that we move through those waves of productivity, productivity and recovery. I think the opportunity to provide employees with the ability to actually have that downtime, have those quiet spaces to go for reflection, for recovery, they're becoming more prominent. I think whenever the larger organizations and, organizations who are seen to be high in employee engagement, high in employee productivity and creativity, when they have these facilities and they have them, I think it helps promote that to other organizations, smaller organizations who may not be a little more resistant and traditionally may not have been opening to that. But I think it has a tremendous place in the workplace. And I think there are ways to design space so that it can be multifunctional. So it allows you to create that yoga room, a mother's room, a prayer room, a meditation room, all in one, so that everybody can actually utilize the space for what fits them, and allows them to get back and sort of recover so they come back to that flow state.
Now, thank you for the wonderful detailed answer, because I know you are a big fan of meditation. But you mentioned right there at the end, religion, prayer room. How do you think workplaces should handle spirituality, like requesting certain days off, or space to pray, or specific eating habits that either need to be worked around or respected in the workplace? Are there any, obviously diversity drives productivity, but how do you respectfully work with diversity, or something maybe your company or other members aren't used to? Do you know of any tips, tricks, things certain companies do that have been really successful that you want to or can share with our audience?
No, it's a great question, and it's a really important question. And no matter what you do as an organization, as a leader, as a colleague, whatever that is, whenever someone comes into your organization, you have to respect them as an individual, and you have to respect whatever their religious beliefs, whatever their background, whatever their diversity, whatever that is, you have to respect that. And if you don't, then how do you expect that person to engage and be part of a team? So you have to understand what are the traditions, culturally, where that individual is from. What is the cultural differences of a specific office that you're looking to operate from, the geography that you're looking to operate within? You have to respect those. You have to cater to those, and your workplace has to reflect that. Also, I think if you don't reflect that and you don't provide those experiences and sort of be in touch with that, then you're never going to have a productive environment. You're never going to have a collaborative environment. You're just not going to do that. Again, everything is down to the individual, the employee. What does the employee need to have for them to feel at ease at home? Creativity, productivity comes from comfort. When someone feels comfort, only then can they be truly creative. And I think you have to provide employees with what they need, and you have to understand what they need. Employees know what they need, and if you need to understand, okay, culturally, be it religious, be it whatever other form that takes, then you have to understand that, and you have to respect it. And today we operate in a world where we are exposed to so many cultures, so many religions, and you have to accept, and we do accept, that there are those differences, and we have to respect them.
Very good, very good. And doing so, knowing you need to, and doing so, sometimes there is a disconnect, and it can be hard.
There is, but I think, and thankfully, I think we're at a time where it's more prominent and people are more aware. And there's very few people or workplaces that I'm aware of where diversity and inclusion just isn't embraced. It just is so much today. And I think that's a lot to do with a lot of the publicity and a lot of the communication that's come out from those groups, diverse groups, and so on and so forth. Right? Most organizations today have diversity groups, which is really helps promote diversity, for want of a better word, within the organization, and it shows inclusion and it shows belonging. And whenever you feel and you see that within the organization, it's great. And I think most organizations today embrace that.
Very good. Very good. Hopefully. If not, let's get everyone on board. Now, bringing it back a little bit away from religion, but more spirituality, because that can be, if there's family stress, issues with stressful transitions in your life, perhaps bereavement, loss of a loved one, or something along those lines. This article mentions putting in place an EAD, Employee Assistance Program, to sort of help employees, whether it be from a peer or a manager or maybe someone in HR, just to basically help them get through those issues. What's your take on this? Is there a line where companies shouldn't cross? They shouldn't get too personal? Or is there no line and they should do everything they definitely can for their employee that's having a very tough time or a spiritual crisis?
No, again, it's another great question, another really important question. And it's really hard to know where that line is, right? And, it's also really hard for the organization to draw a line, because where do you draw that line? It's so hard, and I almost feel for organizations, because if they, they're damned if they don't, and they're damned if they do. They're too involved, or they're not involved enough, and it's almost impossible to sort of find that right feel. But I think culture within most organizations, they know what those boundaries are. I think they know that you provide employees as much as you can, and understanding that there are boundaries. And I think employees know fine well where those boundaries are too. There are probably minimum requirements that one would expect. And the assistant programs they're great programs. They're often run by third parties who are tremendously experienced and deal with a lot of the issues you raised. And a lot of that then allows the organization to provide a service that is performed by a third party, a skilled third party, who is experienced and be able to help employees. So again, I always go back and you take about what is spirituality, what is workplace spirituality. It's all about the inner soul. It's all about the self. It's all about how do you bring that passion out of an individual. And as long as an employee feels they have that support from within an organization, then I think the organization wins, as will the employee.
Very good. Very good. Well, hey, that's either a lesson to every organization or company employee out there that's listening, or if you're already doing it, then that's great. That's good to hear. Keep it going. That's it for me. Do you have any curveballs? Because sometimes you do at the end.
I do. I don't know. Not that I have curveballs. I know that I often do. No, I don't. But I still need to put together those little videos to explainers for open source. But I need to do that. But no curveballs. That's still on my to-do list, my long to-do list. But no. I think I'm good.
That's what I was going to say. You helped remind me. Okay, so as someone who I read, I do, but I was never a reader when I was younger. It was not the top of my priorities. It was outside or inside doing other things besides books, which now, well, I'm kicking myself. But anyway, the point is, I love audio. That's why I give my voice to audio, and I think it's very helpful when you get those animated books where I know I've seen, listened to, and re-listened to quite a few where it's not just audio. It's not just saving you time. It's also mental images as well. So you start creating this mind map. Some people learn more with imagery, some audio, some putting it into practice and learning it themselves. But that kind of helps incorporate multiple avenues. And I absolutely am a big fan, especially when you can save time from reading or listening to an entire audiobook and take it and condense it into those 5, 6, 7 minutes of just gold, where those are the true ingrained values, the great takeaways. You may not get everything, but it's going to save you so much time, and the benefit you get from it is so vast. So I am on board. I approve, and I'm excited to upload those to our YouTube channel here. As for everyone watching, like, share, subscribe, and thank you for joining us on this Monday. We'll be back my apologies. We air Wednesdays. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. We'll be back every Wednesday from here on out to give you more information on what's new, updated, and relevant in the office working space. Have a good one.